Hey everybody, it's Brian Burns and welcome to this episode of the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. So how has sales changed and what's going wrong today? We're going to be talking about some of the issues that we're seeing today that's kind of taking B2B sales backwards. But it's so important. Every company needs revenue, and we're all out there trying to sell, trying to build up our business, trying to make a little bit of a living. But it's getting harder. A lot of administration, a lot of misunderstanding. And today we're going to kind of talk about that no decision thing, which annoys me because it's not no decision. It's you don't understand how to sell. Meaning that you think, okay, somebody there wants it. They went through an evaluation. They said they're going to pick you. You get a proposal, but then it just dies. It just stops. It goes quiet. You get the runaround. You're not getting the order. That's all you care about. And we, for some reason, feel comfortable calling that no decision. And maybe. I don't get that. It's basically not understanding how companies buy. And I get on LinkedIn about this all the time. I walk around and I do videos about understanding that people do not understand how to get things done within their own company. Nobody teaches that. People say they do. They teach procurement, but that's processing order. That's not initiating change. So we're going to talk about this today. Got a great guest on. I think you're really going to enjoy this and get something really solid out of it. I'll sum it up at the end. Before we get into it, though, I want to make sure you're checking out Co-Video. Video email is the differentiator this year. I'm telling you, if you want a way to break through all the noise and connect with a client, send a video email. Co-Video is the way to do it. It integrates up with your Chrome browser. It's super simple, and you got to get used to it. We're all a little camera shy at first, but you got to break through it. Believe me, it's a whole lot better than cold calling and getting rejected that way. People just get curious about a video email. They want to hear what you have to say, and you can start to show them stuff. Show them what's on the screen. Show them where you are. Show them that you care. Show them that you're a human being, that you have a big, beautiful smile, and that you're a natural person who really wants to help them. My other partner, Pipedrive. Pipedrive's just crushing it this year. Check out their content at pipedrive.com. Get 1 month eval for free with the Brutal Truth, all one word, coupon code. And it's ready for the enterprise. It's really, I hate even calling it a CRM because it connects up with your email, your calendar, and it's just so simple and natural, and it really adds value as opposed to a lot of other CRMs that are just a ton of work. So check it out, pipedrive.com, coupon code Brutal Truth. Let's get into the interview, and I'll sum it up at the end. Make sure you're checking out me at B2B Revenue. Also, this week got a great episode on the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Got a sales rep who had this superpower that she thought was her weakness. And it took a while to figure it out. And I think we do this a lot, that sometimes what we think is our weakness can be turned into our superpower. So check that out as well. B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast, as well as the Sales Questions Podcast. Here we go. Hey, Stephen, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, real pleasure to be here with you, Brian. I've been a long-time sales professional in the Asia-Pacific region for more than 25 years. Worked for Dell for 13 years in a variety of positions. So I was the first account executive in Asia-Pacific for Dell and did various roles, country manager for Korea, managed all of marketing for the region, did lots of large-scale sales roles. And then more recently, for 9 years, I was running the Targus business across Asia. So had sales teams in a lot of different countries, a lot of different markets. But for the last 2 years, I've had my own sales consulting practice, and recently wrote a book, and am looking to assist sales leaders and business leaders implement world-class sales practices.
Cool. And what made you decide to go out on your own?
Yeah, well, I moved back to Australia from Hong Kong. I was based in Hong Kong doing that Targus job for about 9 years.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to get home, mostly for my kids, just them being Australian. I wanted them to have some experience growing up here.
Yeah.
And I thought, can I find a way to stay out of the corporate world and make a living and find a niche? And, with my long and deep interest in selling and also helping people and developing leaders, I sort of, thought I'd give this a try, and, so far so good.
Well, that's it. Every time I talk to somebody who covers Asia Pac, I'm like, I could never do that job.
Well, it's got its challenges. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
I loved every minute of it. But it is a big region. It's a lot of travel, a lot of complexity.
Yeah.
The markets are very different.
Cultures, languages,
yes,
values.
Yeah, that's right. You have to be careful. You can't. And you're trying to scale operations across lots of small markets.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very challenging. Some things you really need to have local. You're trying to get the benefits of having some centralized functions that can support everyone, but then they can't support each country exactly how they need. And it's pretty complex. But
yeah, I
good
used to
challenge.
complain about a 2-hour flight, and that's nothing in Asia Pac.
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
Hey, so what made you decide to write a book versus just doing consulting or augmenting companies with your expertise?
Yeah, well, something I see, I don't know how you see it, but I really feel that the sales function has been overlooked or neglected by companies over the past decade or so. If I look at the rise of the customer experience function, sitting at the C-level now, how much marketing's developed in B2B in the last 10 years or so. I was talking to someone the other day who said they used to call the marketing department the coloring in department, but you wouldn't call them that now, right? Like they are, in the good companies, they're definitely making a great contribution in the B2B sales world. And I just didn't feel the sales function had the same attention. And I think it should have. I think it should, because companies are finding it harder and harder to differentiate themselves. It's very hard to maintain what we used to call a sustainable competitive advantage. That's quite a transient thing now. Products are more commoditized, and we all know those trends. And I think the sales function's got a big role to play in making sure companies are successful. So I wanted to write a book, sort of a handbook for how you should run the sales function today.
And that's it. I kind of think it's gone backwards. And it was never really good. Once in a while you'd find a company, and I lucked out. One of the first companies I worked for was very sales focused. A bunch of execs from HP, which had they were the underdog in that space way back in the time. So they had to be better to compete against IBM and then DEC. Then it was HP. But after that, it was looked at as kind of a necessary evil. And I did mostly, small startups.
Yes.
But even in big companies, when you get acquired, they didn't really view sales. They were getting the cheap college grads. And that's what's going on today, at least here in the U.S., to just grind it out on email and phone using 20-year-old approaches.
Yeah, exactly. And I can see that over here as well. Like most of the tech companies, they're coming from the US, they're coming into Asia or coming into Australia. And it's quite bizarre that they're getting direction. Okay, has everyone done their 100 calls today, or have they done their 3-hour talk time? And I tell you, in these small markets, it's very damaging, because you can burn through your whole customer base in a couple of months of like really clumsy, outbound, brand destroying, if you like. So that there's definitely great opportunities for folks like me, and I'm getting plenty of companies that have been going down that path and say, hey, this isn't working for me now. Like, how can we do this better, more sustainably?
So what is kind of your ideal customer profile? Where do you fit in really well?
Well, I guess I do a lot of work in the tech space because I sort of come from that tech background, and the tech companies seem to be very active in with their B2B sales models. I also do some work in other industries. I've got some work in insurance, some other companies as well. But it's mostly tech. The SaaS companies, even some of the big old hardware tech companies and so forth. So that's where I play.
And what do you typically see going wrong? What problem are they feeling?
Well, I think there's a couple of big challenges, and I sort of indicated it in sort of the introduction there. How do companies differentiate themselves? And with customers getting bombarded with so many messages and so much outreach, customers are just numb from all of this. So how does a sales team, how does a sales force, get customers' attention? And then when we get their attention, how can we bring them value and so forth? So that's a big problem, and we know there's that the no decision problem is there, which is very much related to that. But I see mostly the companies are geared towards training their sales team on products. Yeah. There's all these product groups lined up, and product group 1 wants the sales team this week to do 2 hours training and
enablement.
Product team number 2 wants them next week, and before you know it, their calendar's filled with all this training, and it's not about solving customers' problems. It's not about how we're going to engage with customers, how we're going to listen, what sort of questions we should be asking. It's about, hey, you guys get out there and show the new roadmap. Yeah, it's so embedded. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've seen that all the time. One of the companies I worked for got acquired by IBM, and for some reason I got responsible for enabling all these reps. And after the first month, I was like, they're never going to get it. And it was a very complicated product. And
yes,
it was a piece of network gear. Then we got stuck in the software division. So it was completely orthogonal.
Right. Okay.
And
yeah.
And do you see the focus being on the cost of sales instead of the outcome of sales, the revenue?
It depends. I think a lot of these SaaS companies are overloading their sales teams in some ways. It seems extraordinary to me with my background. I worked a long time in Dell and was very cost-focused, very productivity-focused, and we're just squeezing more and more productivity quarter after quarter after quarter. It was good like that. But I see a lot of these SaaS companies coming in with a lot of money, overloading territories, hiring a bunch of people. Most of them don't make their target. They might have a nice on-target earnings package, but not many people are making it. So, it's sort of horses for courses there. Some are overspending and some are, still trying to squeeze productivity.
And what process do you take them through?
Well, first we've got to understand, who is the target market? Who are the key contacts or the key profiles who we're trying to sell to, and then what's important to those people, right? So we really got to get into that. Okay, what are the priorities for that company? What are the priorities for that person or that function? And then when we're talking about prospecting and so forth, so we really want to understand that, and then be taking a highly customized, highly personalized approach to get the attention of those customers. And then when we actually get engaged with them, be thinking about, what value we can bring, from all of our experience in the company with other customers, with what we know about is happening in the industry or with other products, and really try and bring value and bring those ideas, to customers. So I think a fairly standardized, what we probably call like a modern selling approach, try and really understand their status quo, their pain, the cost of that pain, then be giving them ideas on how they could do things better and use stories, use storytelling, to get that across and really build up that gap between those two scenarios, right? And that often takes, that's not easy. That sounds like a straightforward process, but to get folks to do it, to understand it, takes time. So I'm very, very cautious about just going in and training a team with that. So I really want to be spending time, maybe like a month before, really understanding the background, the business, the targets, the messages, the value props. Do some training, but then spend like another couple of months with that team at least to try and embed some of this, see how they're using it, adjust course, and then try and hand over to the management to carry it on. But yeah, it's, as you would understand, it's pretty challenging to get companies and folks to really change.
And they're probably really short-term focused. I mean, I'm seeing some companies going from 6-month quotas to quarterly quotas, and I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, that's going the wrong way, yeah.
Well, that's it. If your business is about, expanding within existing accounts, dominating a market, you can't do it on the phone. You have to show up once in a while. You have to think beyond 90-day cliffs.
Yeah, I think it's really overlooked, and like something that I cover in depth in the book is, really leveraging off your existing customers as well. So that's something I think companies don't do enough of, right? And they don't institutionalize referral selling. They're moving so fast, and they're chasing that quarterly number, where we should be spending time really working with our existing customers, making sure they're getting great value out of our product, they're achieving the ROI they expected, they've got the utilization, and out of that, hopefully we're creating customer advocates that will drive referrals, and that should be our growth engine.
Usually it
at
is,
least
right?
equally with the prospecting portion, but the prospecting portion, it tends to be a bit glamorous. Maybe it's a bit more tangible, or has been tangible in the past. You make 1,000 calls, you get 100 appointments, you get 10 deals or something. But we know that doesn't hold anymore. But the prospecting gets too much attention versus taking care of customers.
That's it. Because you think, you get that person, you get that meeting, you give a proposal, you close it. But very few products sell that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not getting engaged with not just the end user of the product, but the people who get the outcome of it, the people who have to finance it, the people who have to manage it. And so many companies don't understand this complexity. And I get into this argument with people all the time because they call something a buyer's journey, but no company teaches people how to buy stuff and disrupt their business. That's not a course.
No, I agree. And that's where we can bring some value, right? Is, we're dealing with buying and selling situations all the time. We should have a lot of experience, at least amongst our team and our management. And if we do it the right way, we can bring a lot of value to customers. Yeah, because customers aren't used to buying a CRM system or to buy a tool to make HR more efficient or automate their warehouse. It's something they do once in a generation or once a decade.
And it's changed. It's unnatural. The status quo is natural.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So, often, and this is where no decision comes in a lot. I don't know if you recognize this, but I was talking to a sales director a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me they've been winning deals, right? They've actually been up against all their competition. They've beaten out their competition. They've been selected. The customer's got the budget. The customer's a great supporter, but still they don't get the deal, right? And it's because the person they're dealing with doesn't know how to buy. They don't know how to build a business case. They don't know how to tick off all those buying committee members who will only ever say no. We don't want to change. We want too much trouble for us.
Well, I love the naivete of the manager saying we won. You won the technical decision.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know about you, but
we won the beauty contest. We won the beauty contest, but there's no prizes for that.
Well, that's it. I mean, you go into a Tesla dealer or a Porsche dealer, it's very easy to get the technical win.
For sure.
Okay, come up with the 100K to get the business win is the hard part.
Yes. Absolutely. So and this guy, he was sort of like defending his sales team. And I'm like, hey, man, you got to – it's not quite right. I think we should be
Well, this is what people don't understand is you think you got a 50% on your exam, but your commission check is 0. So you're only playing half the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, so this is something, sales teams need to be really aware of. Customers can take up a lot of your time, a lot of resources. And in the end, there's no business case.
That's it.
So we've got to work out, is a business case possible early on? If it is, then we need to be working with, we need to develop a supporter or a mobilizer, pretty quickly and work with them actively to manage that buying process.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
I see them in my own business all the time, Brian. Like, a sales leader comes to me and says, hey, I'd like to run a program.
Yeah.
And it's, and I say, okay, what's it going to look like and so forth. And then he says, I'll introduce you to HR. And I go, okay. Let's be careful how we position this now because it could go south right there.
Yeah.
It could go south because HR will have their own partners or they want to do it their own way. They have a certain budget. So we really have to be guiding our customers on how to buy. That's for sure.
Well, that's it. Are you training? Are you consulting? Are you a package?
Yes.
And this I talk about all the time, this business win, this business sale, because, I sold, like you, technology all my life. And I'm talking to the teenager who wants the Porsche. Getting the technical win wasn't the real hard part. It was hard. But once you have it, you go, okay, and they don't have any idea how their company buys. So you have to get to their manager. What's the business case for it? How do we build this out? How do we justify it? All of that. When you buy a house, I don't know what it's like in Australia, but in the U.S., you have to get a mortgage unless you can pay cash, which no one can. So you have to, put all of that together. It can't be more than 30% of your income.
Yes.
You have to have good credit. You have to get title insurance to prove that you're really buying something that's real. You have to get, termite inspection, all of these things that when I bought my first house, I had no idea.
Yeah, and any one of those things can derail the whole deal, right?
Easy.
Yes.
And it doesn't really all come together until like an hour before the settlement, and you've got to get a certified check for 20%. And they're calling you on the phone to tell you exactly, because it has to be exactly that amount.
Yes.
Right? And
the
U.S. economy came to a screeching halt in 2008 because all these people signed these mortgages that they had no idea what they meant.
Yes, absolutely. And also, to make selling in B2B even a little bit more challenging than that is we're competing with other projects as well that may have nothing to do with us.
Right. And personal wins and careers and political standing.
Exactly.
And nothing that's visible. A lot of things that aren't visible.
Yeah, and you and I both would have experienced companies making totally logical decisions. For those personal reasons or political reasons, or your visibility, or something that would please the market, or like our projects can just be pushed. If we're not engaging at the right level and haven't built the right case, our project will just be pushed aside, with the slightest change in the wind.
And that's it. I think too many sales people and sales managers get comfortable when they get that technical win. It's on the forecast, and they think it's just going to slide through procurement and legal. And, the last 2 weeks of the quarter, they hound the person, the quote expires, yes. And I call it the two virgins having sex for the first time. Everything just feels good, but nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
And so I'd say 1 out of probably 50 reps I talk to understands how a company buys, from soup to nuts.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, that there is that small group of elites that really get this.
Yeah.
But they hardly need help or training. Maybe they need a bit of direction and some support. But I really worry about that middle group of salespeople. The guys outside that top 10 or 20%, the next 60 or 70%. They really need a lot of institutional support. They won't be able to do it on their own.
And that's it. And I think that is a huge gap in the learning curve of B2B salespeople. That very few people talk about it. Very few people even know it. And they just assume it.
Yeah. Go on, Brian.
Getting back to your book, how's it structured, and what do you hope that people will get out of reading it?
Yeah, well, about the first, say, 15% of the book is really outlining the challenges that are facing our profession at the moment. So there's maybe like 4 or 5 areas that we should be aware of, and that is, of course, the much more empowered buyer who's engaging with us later, who has access to all product information and so forth. So that's a big challenge. The competition, the commoditization, is just so intense now. Yeah. The rise of the buying committee, the huge focus on customer experience. So, if we're focused on customer experience, our competitors are as well, and they're ring fencing their accounts, right? So it's making it even harder to get attention of customers. So I outline that in like the first 15% of the book, but the book is mostly focused on solving those problems and how we should set up our teams to be successful, how we should hire the right people for the right positions, and then I go through each of the prospecting function, what good looks like there, which is very much a high quality, high touch, customized approach to prospecting. Then I move into the middle of the funnel capability, the real deal making, and the sort of core of selling that we've just been talking about. Digging into status quo, building business cases, navigating committees, identifying the right folks, negotiating good outcomes for both parties. And then I talk about the customer experience and customer success function, which really should be like a growth engine for us and a lead generator and a machine that is creating advocates and referrals. But to do all that, there's a couple of other sections in the book. One is on stakeholder management, and the other's on change management for sales. And unless we get our stakeholders aligned, when we want to make these changes in the organization and put in place a new sales model, it's not going to happen. And if we don't really think about how we're going to drive that change in our team and with the management and with the other functions in the business, we're going to run into a lot of obstacles. And as soon as we can tell our folks, okay, here's how we want you to do things in the future. Here's some training. But unless we're really there with them every step of the way, they're going to run into an obstacle and then bounce back to their old practice. So I've got a whole framework on how to manage a sales team through that change from where you are now into what I call a future-proof sales machine.
Excellent. And does it come in all formats? Kindle, paperback?
Yes, you can get paperback and Kindle ebooks on all on the Apple iBook store. It's available everywhere. So check it out. And you can also get the first 2 chapters for free on my website.
Which is?
www.growthacumen.com.au.
Excellent. And how about getting in touch with you?
Yeah, well, you can get in touch with me on the website or on LinkedIn, Stephen Norman, and my LinkedIn handle is Growth Coach, so linkedin.com/growth-coach or growth-coach.
Hey, that was a great interview, and we really brought up a lot of the issues that we're seeing and a lot of the issues that I cover in closing the complex sale, because people just don't know how companies buy, and they lose momentum. They have no direction, and they're sitting back waiting, and they call this no decision. No, they made a decision. They made a decision to do nothing. That's not an order. There's no commission on that. So that's what I'm teaching in closing the complex sale, is how companies buy and how you keep that momentum going. When you get the technical win, when they say, yeah, we want to go with you, that is not an order. I use the analogy of, everything that we do when we go in and look at a Tesla or a Porsche. We may like the car, we may select it, but if we can't afford it or find a way to purchase it, the rep doesn't get comped on it. And that's the model that we're in today. And people don't understand this. People don't understand how to control it, how to lead it, how to have direction, momentum, and control, and how to understand what is going on and prevent that from happening. It's just a classic mistake. It's what I see at all my clients. And if you don't really come up with a plan, a strategy, a process to prevent it, it's the natural effect. It is not the natural effect to get the order. Now, a lot of people will argue with me, but this is what you'll see. And I'm sure you look at your pipeline and go like, why? They seem so interested. And unless you understand this and can prevent it, you're going to be the victim of it. Probably 2/3 to a half of your pipeline is going to fall into this category. So check it out at b2brevenue.com. There's 2 major courses. Closing the complex sale takes the deal from the first meeting all the way through to closure. And the other one is start the conversation and get the meeting. This is a unique way of prospecting and engaging with cold outreach, meaning that these people don't know who you are or what you do, and they don't know why you're getting in touch with them. This is no cold calling, no cold emailing, the natural way people want to be approached. It's not about personalization and relevance, the same stuff that's been taught for 20 years. This is about how people connect in an organic, scalable, outsourced way. So it's super powerful. Now, both courses have a similar format, meaning you get 100% access to the content day one. You can pay for them all at once or in 12 monthly payments. So it's not like a monthly membership, it's 12 monthly payments. And what's included is not just the content. It's 2 office hours per month, which is an hour-long Zoom conference call with as many people who show up. We answer questions, we discuss use cases, I go over other material. And also you get unlimited one-on-ones, which is a Zoom 30-minute call with me that's recorded and put it into the course, applying the course to what you're doing. So everyone gets to benefit from it. Unlimited number of them. So it's super powerful. What else? What else does everybody ask? That's about it. Hey, make sure you're connecting up with me on LinkedIn. I'm putting all my videos up on YouTube. So just search for Maverick Method on YouTube or Brian Burns Sales Podcast on YouTube, and they'll all be there. Make sure you're checking out the other podcasts, the Sales Questions podcast and the B2B Revenue Leadership Show. I got a great episode this week about a sales rep, selling a brand new product into a brand new market space and a brand new country, the United States. And it's a great story. I think you really enjoy it. We'll see you next time.